Okay, so I just wanted to talk about my situation with water. So water on your homestead is very important, and preferably you could have several sources of water, such as a pond for your livestock or a spring or several wells. Preferably a backup wells when you lose electricity, like hand pumps or solar power. But for me, in my situation, our well gives approximately 10 gallons a minute. It's an electric pump out there in the field, and it pumps to the storage tank. So in our particular area here in California, our well is over 350 feet deep, and hand pumping is just not going to cut the mustard. And solar power, although a viable option, is quite expensive, and it's literally just too pricey to be a backup system, and it does not pump enough gallons per minute or enough water in a day for our usage here on the homestead. Between, you know, the 5 of us living here and doing our daily stuff and the livestock and all the gardens, it's just not enough, and it's too much money to invest as a backup system. If it was the primary system and it could do everything, fine, but it can't. So So what do we do? So the plan is just to have generators to run the electric pumps if we need to fill up the tanks, but we're also going to upgrade our storage capacity. So this here is a 2,500 gallon storage tank, and it's got some issues. It's starting to lean, so the PVC pipe is bowing. So even if I didn't replace it, I would need to fix it, which is still quite a bit of work. So we bought a 5,000 gallon storage tank. We're going to be putting a pad on the other side over here. So in here we're going to be putting a 12 by 12 pad for our 5,000 gallon storage tank, and we will also be utilizing this one as well. We're either going to join them together or move this one to a different location on the property, but either way we're going from 2,500 gallons to 7,500 gallons. We have the pool if we need to use backup water. So no spring, no pond, no creek. So tripling our water storage and generators and gas storage to run the generators to fill these tanks. So should get us through several months, up to a year if we, use our generators appropriately. But anyways, enough of the stuff about water storage. So in order to prepare for this, I got the goats locked up in the pen on the other side, so they're not out here coming in here running around when I got these fences down all over this pipe work and electrical stuff, messing it up. Same with the horses, they're out. They're excited. The other problem is this oak tree. This oak tree, take you over and show you, has dropped a branch every year since we've been here. It's a big gnarly oak tree. So this was one of the first branches that fell down. Took out my fence when it fell. There's another branch here that fell, and there was a big branch on this side also that fell. So that's 3 so far, and it's diseased, it's rotting. You can see it's rotting out on the inside. It's probably all soft up in there, and I imagine it's all going to fall down. And these branches go up and over to this area to where they're threatening the pump house and the water tank pipework. So I'm going to drop these 2 branches that lean this way today, and I might leave the rest for another day because I really need to get this project done in a timely fashion. And yeah, so that's what's going on the homestead, is upgrading and improving our water situation out here. So let me get started on this work, and I'll keep you updated as I go. Okay, step 1, follow the branches, which I did. And they fell a little bit on the fence, but that's okay because the fence was coming down. So I said I had to take these out to make sure that nothing was going to fall on my tank house over there. So I cut those branches, fell them down. Now it's time for step 3, cleanup. Alrighty, so I got the wood, most of it, all cleared out from the horse paddock. And I left some of the bigger logs in there because I ran into an issue with my chainsaw. Yeah, if you live out in the country, you're homesteading or farming, you know what I'm talking about. Stuff always fouls up when you need it. But I got it good enough to get the horses in there, put the hot wire back up. I ran a hot wire line around here to keep the horses out of here. The goats are in the pen. So now we're on to the next phase. Took all the fencing down around this so I could work, and I'm setting my foundation. Never poured concrete, never set a foundation, so I'm just winging it via YouTube and a little common sense. I mean, just a little common sense. So I got that board level and in, that board level and in. So I backfilled this area, but what I ran into was all this grass in here, and the ground is just mushy. It's not getting hard, so I'm gonna have to dig out all the grass, which was, I probably needed quite a bit more common sense for that. So dig out all the grass and then backfill with more solid dirt and get ready for the pour again, which I've never done before. So yeah, do it yourself homesteading. If I can do it, certainly you guys can do it. No worries. So for your real super beginners like me, you got these stakes, these metal stakes. They have holes every so often for nails or screws to go in. That's what you hold your foundation level with, the elevation, and so your elevation and from moving in and out. So you use the level, get your elevation set, and then I drilled a screw in right there into the wood to hold that elevation, and then a couple more to keep it from bowing when I put the concrete, pour the concrete in, because the concrete's heavy. So you just start with one, or I did. I mean, leveled it, got it straight. How I did it was I wanted to make sure that I had equal distance through this walkway right here, because this is going to remain my new pump house. So I wanted to have the equal distance walkway, and that's where I set my first board with my elevation. Now, because the land slopes from high up there to low down here, I have to dig the dirt out up there. And once I remove the grass, I'll use that dirt to backfill this area here. But you got to get all that grass out of there first, so that the tank doesn't eventually just sink in. All right, yep, back to work. All right, so the framework is in for the foundation. I set this one up first. Remember, because I wanted the walkway here, a certain distance. And I set that one up, then that one, and that one. So basically you just set them in, get them even, use your level, raise up the one side or lower the one side with the stake that has a hole in it, and you just screw it through there like so. So you raise your board up or down, and then you screw the screw in there to hold it at that level. I also put screws in on the end to hold these together, and I got several stakes along the way and some dirt to hold in the concrete. So basically the next step is I got to find some concrete. This is almost a 12 by 12. It takes 2.7 cubic yards. You can go onto Google and look at a concrete calculator, put in your measurements and your depth, and it will tell you how much you need. It will also tell you how many bags of concrete, 40, 60, or 80 pounds that you need, or you can just get a truck. And I'm undecided at what I'm going to do yet. They say it's cheaper to get a truck than to buy the bags, get a mixer, and do it yourself. But we'll see. The only other thing is I'm going to put some wire in here, concrete reinforcement wire in here. It holds the concrete together to keep it from cracking. Other than that, I also looked up on Google how much thickness I would need to support a 40,000 gallon water tank. So it said 6 inches. That's a 5.5 or a 2x6, but it's actually 5.5 inches. And so we're going to go with that. And yeah, hoping it all is going to turn out good. So, and I'm still undecided as if I'm going to move this tank or if I'm going to just pipe them together and go with 7,500 gallons of water. I initially wanted to move it to the other side of the property to have less head pressure from pumping from here all the way over there. But that would require 2 pumps, 2 pads, 2 everything, 2 electrical boxes, running more electrical, significantly more financially and significantly more work. I still haven't decided if I'm just going to buy a bigger booster pump to put over here and run it off of one system. And it's also double the amount of things to go wrong. It's also double the generators to hook up to each one if I run them separately off a generator, instead of, because I don't have a whole house generator. So lots of things for me to consider, and I still haven't made up my mind. So yeah. All right, let me get back to work. All right, so on to the next step, preparing to pour. So I took the cyclone fencing that surrounded my water tank over there and just cut it up and threw it in here. Now this, you can also use concrete reinforcement wire. It's a roll of like a little 4-inch or 6-inch square welded wire. But any wire will work. And the purpose of the wire is to keep the concrete from sloping down or breaking off. So concrete's going to crack. Most of the time it always cracks, and that's due to the moisture evaporating out of it and shrinkage. What the wire does is, even though the concrete is cracking, it holds it together. It doesn't let, like, say if it cracks down the middle, it won't let this side slope down or break off or fall off. Or that's the principle anyway, in theory, I guess. So I got 3 pieces put in here, and then when I pour it, I'll make sure that it's, ideally you want it to be right in the middle. Obviously this is bent and warped, but I'll get it in there nice and good and pull it all the way over to the edges. All right, and then I also went down and got some concrete. If you didn't know, a lot of the Home Depot and Lowe's stores, home improvement stores, will give you broken bags for free. So I got some free broken bag and some bulk concrete here, which is pretty much going to be used for fence posts because it's got a lot of debris in it. And then I bought 180-pound bags. That's the recommendation for my size. Actually 120, but I had a few extra. And I'm going to borrow a mixer from a friend and do it. Now, cost-wise, getting a truck to come out here and dump it in here would have been slightly more, barely a little bit more. I would say definitely worth the money, because the effort it's going to take for me to mix that and dump it in there is going to be significant. But I just didn't want to deal with the 5-minute per yard timeline on the truck and then trying to squeeze it in my gate around this corner through this, 12-foot thing, dealing with the tree height and the length of the boom to reach the thing. So it just seemed a little bit more stressful. And yeah, so this is the way I chose. But if you're doing anything bigger than this, I highly recommend using a truck. Anything smaller than this, then you probably want to mix your own bags. But anyways, yeah, so tomorrow is the day that I'm going to be pouring and getting it set in there. Hopefully I'll have an opportunity to take some video of that and show you what it looks like to see a novice pour some concrete and all the mess ups and everything else that I do. But yeah, so there you have it. If you're subscribed to my channel and you're watching the other stuff that I'm doing, the egg incubation trial is under the way, and I'm going to be setting in the last incubator with the 3rd process today. So yeah, garden's coming alive. Getting started on replanting my raised beds this year, and I also, for the first time, planted cucamelons. So I'll do a longer video on those if that's something that you guys are interested in, or you might be interested in. Here they are. They're looking a little bit shocked because I just transplanted them in here, but they're doing well. I would. Okay, so here's the final result. You can see all the lines in it from this amateur concrete guy. See that? And the sides are really rough, so I made a couple mistakes when we were screeting it or pulling the long board along it. It started out down there, right, all smooth on the wood, and as we moved down, it started getting buildup. See, so we weren't basically on the wood, and these posts, I should have nailed them down farther so they weren't in the way. But as we came up here, we started getting higher, so now it's kind of slanted that way, very slightly. And I also didn't float, I guess that's what you call it. As I poured this first section here, I should have floated it with the small hand wood float, and then we poured the middle section, then I should have floated it, and then this section I should have floated it. Well, I didn't float, I just put it in, kind of pushed it down with a metal rake. And when it was all poured in here, I took the metal one to smooth it out. I forget what it's called, but it was pretty difficult even at that, and you can see all the lines in it. Now the most important thing was for it to be level and not to have any sharp rocks, as to not poke a hole in the bottom of the plastic tank, which I think that's pretty we succeeded in that. So anyways, there you go.